The alpha's Luna had beaten me so many times I stopped counting the bruises, and the entire pack watched without saying a word. But when their dying pup took his last breaths, and every healer in the territory gave up hope, they came pounding on my door at midnight, begging the worthless Omega they'd tortured for years to save him. What happens when the one person they destroyed becomes the only one who can save what they love most? The bruises on my ribs had turned from purple to yellow. It had been 3 days since Serafina kicked me. I could still feel the exact spot where her boot hit. Even when I breathed in deep, the pain was there, like a mean voice telling me I would never belong. I stood in front of my tiny broken mirror, lifting my shirt to look at the marks, yellow and green and brown, spreading across my skin like ugly flowers. These were just the new ones. Under them were older bruises, faded to nothing but memory. I had so many memories written on my skin. My fingers traced the worst one, right under my left rib. That was from 3 nights ago, when the whole pack circled around me in the town square. Serafina had walked through the crowd like a queen. Her crown caught the light from all the torches. It was made of silver and had real diamonds on it. She wore it every single day, just to make sure everyone remembered she was the Luna, the most important female wolf in the whole Silvercrest pack. I had been carrying water from the well, 2 heavy buckets that made my arms shake. I was trying to be invisible, the way I always tried to be. But someone stuck their foot out. I fell hard, and the buckets went flying. Water went everywhere, all over the dirt, all over people's shoes. The crowd got quiet. That scary kind of quiet that means something bad is coming. Serafina walked up to me slow. Her dress was long and white, and it moved around her like smoke. She was beautiful in the way that ice is beautiful, cold and sharp and dangerous. Her hair was so blonde it looked white in the moonlight. Her eyes were the palest blue I had ever seen. She looked down at me lying in the mud and smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Worthless Omega," she said. Her voice was sweet like honey, but the words cut like knives. "You pollute our bloodline simply by breathing the same air." I kept my head down. I knew the rules. Never look a higher wolf in the eyes. Never talk back. Never act like you matter, because to them, you don't. But keeping my head down did not save me. It never did. Her boot came fast. It hit my ribs so hard I heard something crack. Maybe a rib. Maybe just the sound of my breath leaving my body all at once. I curled up like a bug, trying to protect my stomach, my face, anything important. The pack watched. 50 wolves, maybe more. They stood in that circle and watched their Luna kick a girl who could not fight back. No one said stop. No one said that is enough. They just watched. Like this was normal. Like I deserved it for being born wrong. Because I was wrong. Born broken. A wolf who could not shift. Every other wolf in our pack could change. When the moon was full, they became beautiful creatures with thick fur and sharp teeth and eyes that glowed. They could run fast through the forest, hunting and howling. They belonged to something bigger than themselves. Not me. I stayed human, always human. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I begged the moon, my body would not change. My wolf was sleeping deep inside me, and I could not wake her up. That made me less than nothing. An Omega who could not even Omega properly. A shame to the pack. So I learned to survive by being a shadow. I lived at the very edge of Packlands, in an old cottage that nobody wanted. I did the jobs nobody else wanted to do. I kept my eyes down and my mouth shut. I made myself as small as possible. 3 days had passed since the beating in the square. 3 days of hiding in my cottage, waiting for the bruises to fade enough that I could move without crying. But tonight was the feast, and everyone had to come. Even me. Even broken, worthless me. The feast hall was huge. It was made of old gray stone with a roof so high the shadows lived up there, dancing in the dark. Torches burned in iron holders on every wall, making the whole place smell like smoke and meat and sweet wine. Long tables filled the space, and wolves sat everywhere, laughing and eating and celebrating. They were celebrating another good hunt. 10 deer, the hunter said. Enough meat to feed the pack for weeks. Alpha Kale had led the hunt himself, and everyone wanted to honor him. I stayed against the wall, moving between the shadows. My job was to clear plates and fill cups, to clean up spills and carry heavy trays, to be there but not be seen. I carried a wooden tray loaded with empty cups. It was heavy, and my ribs hurt with every step, but I did not let the pain show on my face. Showing pain made wolves want to hurt you more. It was like blood in the water calling sharks. I walked behind a group of young wolves telling loud stories about the hunt. They did not even look at me. I was furniture to them, just another thing in the room. That is when I felt it. A feeling like fire on my skin, like someone was staring at me so hard it burned. I should have kept walking, should have kept my head down, should have stayed invisible. But I looked up, across the huge hall, through all the smoke and people and noise. I saw him, Alpha Kale. He stood at the head table, tall and strong and powerful. He was the biggest wolf I had ever seen, even in his human form. His shoulders were so wide they blocked the light. His arms were thick with muscle, covered in old scars that told stories of fights and hunts and survival. His face was hard, all sharp angles and rough edges. A scar ran down his left jaw, white against his tan skin. His hair was dark and messy, falling into his eyes. But it was his eyes that made my breath stop. They were silver, not gray, not blue, but silver like the moon itself. And right now, those silver eyes were looking straight at me. My heart started beating so fast I could hear it in my ears. The tray in my hands shook, and the cups rattled together, making a tiny sound that seemed loud as thunder. I could not read his expression. His face did not show anger or disgust or hate. It showed something else, something I had no words for, something that made my stomach flip over. We looked at each other for 3 heartbeats. I counted them. 1, 2, 3. Then I saw her. Serafina appeared at his side like winter frost creeping across a window. She wore a dress the color of ice, covered in tiny crystals that caught the firelight. Her crown sat perfect on her white blonde hair. She was everything I was not. Beautiful, powerful, belonged. Her hand landed on Kale's arm, fingers wrapping around his bicep like she owned him. Maybe she did. She was his Luna, his mate, the mother of his child. She laughed at something someone said, but her pale blue eyes found me across the room. They were cold and mean, and I saw the promise in them. If I did not look away right now, I would pay for it later. I looked away. I always looked away. My feet moved before my brain could think. I put the tray down on the nearest table, not caring if I put it in the right spot. Then I walked fast toward the back door, weaving between tables and people. My ribs hurt. My hands were shaking. My whole body felt wrong, like my skin did not fit right anymore. I pushed through the heavy wooden door and stepped out into the night. The cold air hit my face, and I sucked in a deep breath. Then another. Then I started running. I ran down the dirt path that led away from the feast hall, away from the town center, away from all those wolves who would never see me as anything but broken. My cottage was at the edge of packlands, almost a mile away. The path was dark, only a little moonlight showing me where to step. My cottage appeared through the trees like an old friend. It was small and falling apart. The roof leaked when it rained. The door did not close all the way. The windows were cracked, and cold air came through the gaps. But it was mine, the only place in the world where I could be alone. I pushed open the door and went inside, closing it behind me and leaning against it. My heart was still pounding. My ribs ached. My hands would not stop shaking. I did not understand what just happened. Why had the Alpha looked at me like that? Why had those 3 heartbeats felt like the world was changing? It did not matter. It could not matter. He was the Alpha. She was his Luna. And I was nothing. I lit a candle and put it on the old wooden table. The tiny flame made shadows dance on the walls. My cottage had only one room, a bed in the corner, the table and one chair, some shelves with jars of herbs and dried plants, a fireplace that I could not afford to use most nights. This was my sanctuary, my hiding place, the spot where I was safe from boots and fists and cruel words. I lay down on my bed without taking off my dress. The blanket was thin and worn, but I pulled it up to my chin anyway. Outside, I could hear the distant sounds of the feast, laughing and howling and celebration. They were celebrating strength and belonging and pack. I was here, alone, trying to forget the way Silver Eyes had looked at me like maybe, just maybe, I was not as worthless as everyone said. But that was a dangerous thought. Hope was dangerous. It made you forget to protect yourself. It made you think things could change when they never did. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would be the same as every day before it. I would be invisible. I would survive. I would keep my head down and my mouth shut. That was all someone like me could do. The candle burned low, and shadows filled my cottage. And somewhere far away, the feast went on without me. The pounding on my door pulled me from sleep like hands dragging me out of deep water. I sat up fast, my heart jumping into my throat. The little cottage was dark except for moonlight coming through the cracked windows. I had no idea what time it was, but it felt late, very late. The kind of late when nothing good ever happens. Boom, boom, boom. Someone was hitting my door so hard the whole cottage shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The old hinges creaked and groaned like they might break. I pressed myself against the wall, making myself small. Maybe, if I was quiet, they would go away. Maybe they would think no one was home. My mind raced through all the terrible possibilities. Had I done something wrong? Was Serafina sending wolves to punish me for looking at her mate? Was this another beating, but worse this time? "Open this door," a man's voice shouted, rough and desperate and full of panic. "Please, I know you're in there. Please." I knew that voice. It made my whole body freeze. Alpha Kale. Why was the Alpha at my cottage in the middle of the night? This made no sense. Alphas did not come to Omega cottages. They did not pound on doors and say please. Something was very, very wrong. Then I heard it. A sound that cut through my fear like a hot knife through butter. A small, weak cry. A whimper that sounded like it came from something tiny and hurt and dying. My feet moved before my brain could stop them. I ran to the door and pulled it open. Alpha Kale stood on my broken porch, and he looked nothing like the powerful wolf from the feast hall. His dark hair was messy and wild, sticking up in all directions. His shirt was half unbuttoned, like he had gotten dressed in a hurry and did not care about looking proper. His face was pale, drained of color. His silver eyes were wide and scared and desperate. I had never seen an alpha look scared before. I did not think they could. In his arms, wrapped tight in his own cloak, was a tiny wolf pup. The pup was so small it could fit in my 2 hands put together. Its fur was white as fresh snow, but it was wet with sweat and sticking to its small body. Its little chest was shaking with each breath. Its breathing sounded wrong, all raspy and wet and weak, like each breath was a fight. Those tiny eyes were trying so hard to stay open, but they kept closing. Like staying awake was too much work. "They said you have the old gift," Kyle said. His voice was shaking. I had never heard an alpha's voice shake. Alphas were supposed to be strong and steady and fearless. The healing touch that bloodlines forgot. My son, Thorn. The pack healers can't help him. They've tried everything, every medicine, every treatment, every spell they know. They say there's nothing left to do. They say to prepare for the worst. Please, I'll give you anything, anything you want. Just help him, please. I stared at the pup. Thorn, the alpha's heir. I had heard about him being born 3 months ago. The whole pack celebrated for 3 days straight. There was feasting and dancing and howling. But I had never seen him. Omegas like me were not allowed near the alpha's family. We might contaminate them with our brokenness. The pup's eyes opened a tiny bit, struggling. and they were silver, just like his father's. Exact same color. He looked at me, and even though he was so sick and weak, there was something in that look, something that reached into my chest and grabbed my heart and squeezed. I felt it then, the wrongness in him. It sang to me like music that was off-key, like a song that was not playing right. My grandmother had taught me to listen for that wrongness. She said I had the gift, the old magic that came from the earth itself, magic that did not need shifting or claws or fangs, magic that was older than pack laws and rules. A cold voice cut through the night air like a blade made of ice. "You brought my son to this." Serafina appeared behind KL like a ghost made of winter and fury. She wore a long white robe that flowed around her like water. Her hair was perfect, even though it was the middle of the night, not a single strand out of place. Her crown was gone, but she did not need it. Everything about her screamed power and control and rage. She moved faster than I could think, faster than I could react. Her hand came up and cracked across my face so hard my head snapped to the side. Pain exploded across my cheek. White stars burst in my vision. I tasted blood where my teeth cut the inside of my lip. "This broken thing will kill him faster than the fever," Serafina shouted. Her beautiful face was twisted with hate, all her perfect features ugly with anger. "She's worthless, wolfless, defective. She'll poison him with her defective touch. She'll make him worse." My face burned where she hit me. My eyes filled with tears, but I would not let them fall. I would not give her that satisfaction. I would not let her see me cry. But I was not looking at her. I could not look at her. I was looking at Thorn. The pup was getting worse, right before my eyes. I could see it happening. His breathing was slower now, more shallow, weaker. His little body was going limp in his father's arms, all his tiny muscles giving up the fight. I could feel it, the wrongness inside him. It was like music that was off-key, a song that was not playing right. It was loud in my head, screaming at me. My grandmother had taught me to listen for that wrongness. She said I had the gift, the old magic that came from the earth itself, magic that did not need shifting or claws or fangs, magic that was in my blood and bones. I had hidden that gift my whole life. Using it was forbidden. The pack said the old ways were dangerous, dark, evil. They said anyone who practiced them should be cast out or killed. They said the old magic corrupted everything it touched. But this pup was dying. I could see death sitting on his tiny shoulders like a dark shadow, waiting, getting closer with every weak breath. My hands moved on their own, like they belonged to someone braver than me. I reached out for Thorn, my fingers gentle as I touched his small head. The wrongness sang louder now, screaming in my ears. Poison, some kind of poison in his blood, fighting his tiny body, killing him slowly, and his body was losing the fight. "Get inside," I heard myself say. My voice sounded strange, strong, steady, like it belonged to someone else entirely, someone who was not scared. "Both of you, now." KL did not wait. He did not ask questions. He pushed past me into the cottage, holding Thorn close to his chest like the pup was the most precious thing in the whole world. Serafina stood on the porch, her pale eyes full of ice and fire at the same time. "If you harm my son," she started, her voice full of threats. "Then you can kill me yourself," I said, meeting her eyes for the first time in my life, looking directly at the Luna, breaking every rule I had ever learned. But right now he needs help, and I'm the only one who can give it. So you can come inside and watch, or you can leave, but do not get in my way, not for 1 second. She looked shocked. Her mouth opened, then closed. No one talked to the Luna like that, especially not worthless Omegas, especially not me. But she came inside, her movements stiff and angry, her whole body radiating rage. My cottage felt very small with 3 people in it. Kale was so big he made the whole space seem tiny. His shoulders were wider than my doorway. He had to duck his head under the ceiling beams. He stood by my bed, still holding Thorn. The pup was barely moving now. Just small, weak breaths, that were getting further and further apart. "Put him on the bed," I said, pointing. My voice was still strong, still steady. "Unwrap the cloak. I need to see all of him, every part." Kael did what I said without question, without hesitation. He laid Thorn down so gentle, so careful, like the pup was made of glass that would shatter at the smallest touch. He unwrapped the cloak, and I got my first real look at the Alpha's heir. He was beautiful. Even sick and dying, he was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. His white fur was soft as clouds, fluffy and thick. His little paws had tiny pink pads, small as flower petals. His ears were small and folded against his head. He was barely bigger than a loaf of bread from the bakery. I knelt beside the bed and put my hands on either side of Thorn's small body, not quite touching him yet. I closed my eyes and listened, not with my ears, but with something deeper, something that lived in my blood and bones and soul, something my grandmother taught me to use. The wrongness screamed at me now, so loud it hurt. Poison, yes, but not from something he ate. This was magic, dark magic. A curse, maybe, or a spell gone wrong. Someone had done this on purpose. Someone wanted this pup dead. It was eating him from the inside out, burning through his tiny body like fire through dry wood, destroying everything. "What are you doing?" Serafina demanded, her voice sharp and impatient. "Why aren't you helping him? Why are you just sitting there?" "Be quiet," I said, not opening my eyes. "I need to hear. I need to listen." I heard her gasp. No one told the Luna to be quiet, but I did not care about her right now. I only cared about the dying pup under my hands. My grandmother's voice came back to me, a memory from when I was very small, maybe 5 or 6 years old. "The earth gives and the earth takes away. You are a bridge between the two. Your hands can pull the sickness out, but it will hurt. It will cost you. It will take everything you have. But if you love enough, if you care enough, you can save them." I loved this pup. I did not know how or why, but I loved him already. Maybe because he was innocent. Maybe because he was small and helpless and dying through no fault of his own. Maybe because those silver eyes had looked at me like I mattered. I opened my eyes and looked at Kael. His face was full of desperate hope and terrible fear. "This will take days. Maybe 3. Maybe 4. Maybe more. I'll need to stay with him every minute, every second. I'll need herbs from the forest, water from the creek, and you'll both need to leave me alone to work. I cannot have distractions." "I'm not leaving my son," Kael said. His voice was hard, final. "Fine, but stay out of my way." I looked at Serafina. "You can go." Her face turned red with rage, her perfect features ugly with anger. "How dare you?" "Serafina." Kael's voice was quiet but hard as stone, sharp as a blade. "Either help or leave. Choose now. Right now." She stared at him like he had slapped her across the face, like he had broken some sacred rule. Then she turned and walked out, slamming the door so hard the whole cottage shook and one of my jars fell off the shelf and shattered on the floor. In the ringing silence that followed, I placed my hands directly on Thorn's small body. My palms started to glow with soft, silver light, the same color as the moon itself. The light spread across the pup's white fur, sinking into his skin, seeping into his bones. Thorn whimpered, a tiny sound of pain that broke my heart into pieces. "I know," I whispered to him, leaning close. "I know it hurts. I know you're scared, but I'm going to fix you. I promise. I swear on my life. I'm going to fix you." The poison fought me. It did not want to leave. It wrapped around Thorn's tiny heart, like thorns covered in needles, squeezing, crushing, killing. But I was stronger. I had to be stronger. I pulled at it, slow and careful, singing the old songs my grandmother taught me, songs in a language I did not understand. But my blood remembered. My bones remembered. The silver light got brighter, filling the cottage with moonglow. My hands got hot, burning. Sweat ran down my face, dripping onto the bed. This was going to take everything I had. Every bit of strength. every drop of magic. But I did not stop. I would not stop. Not until this pup was breathing right again. Not until the poison was gone. Not until I saved him or died trying. Behind me, Kyle watched in silence. I could feel his eyes on me, heavy and intense. But I did not look at him. I kept my eyes on Thorn, kept my hands steady, kept singing the old songs. The night stretched out long and dark around us, and in my tiny cottage, I fought death for the life of a pup I had just met, and something told me that nothing would ever be the same again. I did not sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. My hands stayed on Thorn almost every minute, glowing with that silver light that came from somewhere deep inside me. The light I had hidden my whole life because using it meant exile or death. But none of that mattered now. Nothing mattered except this tiny pup fighting for every breath, his small heart beating too fast and then too slow and then too fast again, never finding a steady rhythm. The poison was smart, clever, alive in a way that made my skin crawl. It hid in his blood, wrapping around his tiny bones like vines, digging into his lungs like roots. Every time I pulled some out, more appeared, growing back faster than I could remove it. It was like fighting shadows that multiplied in the dark. But I did not give up. I could not give up. I sang the old songs until my voice went rough and scratchy, barely more than a whisper. I pressed my glowing hands against his white fur until my arms shook with tiredness, until I could barely lift them anymore. Kale stayed. He folded his huge body into the corner of my tiny cottage, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, his silver eyes watching everything I did. He did not talk much. He did not ask questions. He did not get in my way. He just watched, like if he looked away for even 1 second, his son might disappear like smoke. On the first night, around midnight when the moon was highest, I had to change the cloths on Thorn's head every hour. The fever made him so hot, his tiny body burned like a coal fresh from the fire. I could feel the heat radiating off him. I dipped cloth after cloth into cold water from my bucket, wringing them out and placing them gentle on his head, his neck, his little paws. My hands moved automatically, over and over, trying to cool the fire inside him. Kale stood up suddenly. "Let me help." I was too tired to argue, too exhausted to protest. I showed him how to wet the cloths in the bucket, how to wring them just right so they were damp but not dripping, how to fold them so they covered the most area. His huge hands looked funny doing such delicate work, hands made for fighting and hunting and killing, now gently cooling a sick pup's fever with infinite patience. We worked together in silence, falling into a rhythm that felt natural. I would sing and glow and pull at the poison. He would change the cloths and bring me water when my throat got too dry to sing. Hours passed like this, blending together. The candles burned down to nothing. I lit new ones. The night stayed dark outside my cracked windows, endless and heavy. "Why do you hide here?" Kale asked suddenly. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper, like he was afraid to break something fragile in the air between us. I did not look up from Thorn. My hands were still glowing, still working, pulling threads of poison from his small body. "You know why. Tell me anyway." I was too tired to lie, too tired to pretend, too tired to protect myself with carefully chosen words. "Because I'm broken. A wolf who can't shift is an embarrassment, an insult to the bloodline. Your mate has made that very clear. Everyone has. Every single day of my life." "She's wrong," he said, simple and direct. I did laugh then, but it was not a happy sound. It was bitter and sharp and full of years of pain. "She's the Luna. She speaks for the pack. What she says becomes truth." "She speaks for herself." Kyle moved closer, sitting on the floor beside my bed so he could see Thorn better, so he could watch his son's tiny chest rise and fall. "And she's afraid of you. She always has been, from the first day you arrived in this pack." That made me look up, made me stop my work for just a second. Of me? The wolfless Omega everyone beats up for fun? What could she possibly be afraid of? Kale's silver eyes met mine, and in the candlelight, they looked almost soft, gentle. True power, the kind that doesn't need claws or fangs or brute strength. The kind that can't be controlled or dominated or beaten into submission. You're saving my son right now when 5-pack healers with decades of training gave up. You're using magic they've forgotten existed, magic they fear because they don't understand it. That terrifies her, because it means you're more than what she's told everyone you are. It means her power over you is an illusion. I did not know what to say to that. The words felt impossible, like he was describing someone else entirely. No one had ever called me powerful before. The idea felt wrong, uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that did not fit right, that pinched and pulled in all the wrong places. I turned back to Thorn. His breathing was a tiny bit better now, not quite so raspy and wet. The poison was fighting less, retreating deeper. We were winning, slow and painful and exhausting, but winning. "Tell me about yourself," Kale said after a long, quiet moment that stretched between us. "Not the Omega they see. You, the real you that hides behind the fear." And somehow, in that dark cottage with death pushed into the corner by candlelight and old magic, I did. I told him everything. About my grandmother, who raised me after my parents died in a rogue attack when I was 3. How she lived deep in the woods in a cottage even smaller than this one, and knew every plant, every herb, every old song from the time before pack laws. How she taught me to listen to the earth's heartbeat, to feel the moon's song even though my body could not answer its call, to understand that power came in many forms. I told him about the loneliness of being different in a world that demanded sameness, how I would watch the pack run together under the full moon, their wolves beautiful and strong and wild, and I would stand at my window feeling the moon call to something inside me that could not wake up. How much that hurt. How it felt like part of me was sleeping and would never, ever wake up. How it felt like being broken in a way that could never be fixed. I told him about learning to survive by being invisible, about making myself small and quiet and forgettable so people would not notice me enough to hurt me, about the beatings that happened anyway, about the cruel words that cut deeper than any fist, about the way everyone looked through me like I was not even there, like I was a ghost haunting their world. Kale listened to every word. He did not interrupt. He did not tell me to stop feeling bad for myself. He did not say it could be worse, that others had it harder. He just listened, his face still and serious, like everything I said mattered, like my pain was real and valid and worthy of acknowledgement. When I finally stopped talking, my voice rough from singing and confessing, he was quiet for a long time. So long I thought maybe he fell asleep. But then he spoke. "I'm sorry," he said. 2 words, simple and plain and easy to say. But the way he said them, with such weight and sincerity, it felt like he was apologizing for every wolf who ever hurt me, every person who made me feel less than, every moment I spent believing I was broken and worthless. Something cracked open in my chest, not breaking, but opening. Like a door I had kept locked for so long I forgot it was there, forgotten there was anything behind it worth protecting. On the second day, mid-afternoon when the sun was high, Serafina came back. She swept into my cottage like a cold wind from the north. Her ice-blue dress perfect and unwrinkled, her crown glittering on her perfect blonde hair. She looked at Thorn lying on my bed, his breathing better but still sick, still fighting, and her face stayed cold and blank, no emotion, no concern for her dying child. "The healers say you should stop," she announced, her voice flat and official. "That whatever you're doing is unnatural, forbidden by ancient law, dark magic that will corrupt everything it touches." I kept my hands on Thorn, kept my light glowing steady and bright. "Then why did you bring him to me?" Her jaw got tight, muscles jumping under her perfect skin. Kale insisted. "Against my wishes and better judgment. Then Kale can decide when I stop." I looked at the alpha, meeting his eyes. "Do you want me to stop?" "No," he said, his voice hard as stone, sharp as steel. "Keep going. Don't stop for anything." Serafina's face turned red, color flooding her cheeks. "This is ridiculous. She's using dark magic on our son. She's saving our son, Kale interrupted, his voice cold. Something you and 5 trained healers with all their fancy equipment and expensive medicines could not do. So either sit down and be quiet, or leave and don't come back. I had never heard anyone talk to Serafina like that. From the look on her face, like she had been slapped, neither had she. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Then she turned and left again, slamming the door even harder than the first time. So hard the hinges groaned. When she was gone, Kale looked at me. Something passed between us in that look, something I could not name. Understanding, maybe, or trust. Or something bigger and more dangerous that I was too scared to think about, too scared to examine. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He just nodded and went back to wetting cloths for Thorn's fever, his huge hands gentle and patient. On the 3rd night, everything changed. I was so tired I could barely see straight. My hands had been glowing for almost 3 full days. My back hurt from bending over the bed for so long. My eyes felt full of sand, gritty and dry. But the poison was almost gone. I could feel it, sense it. Just a little bit more, and Thorn would be safe. Just a little bit more. I was singing one of the old songs, my voice barely a whisper now, when Kale started humming along. I stopped singing, shocked, my hands still glowing but my voice frozen. He knew this song. How did he know this song? "My mother used to sing that," he said quietly, his voice thick with memory. "Before she died when I was very young. Maybe 5. I was very young, but I remember. I remember her voice and the way the song made me feel safe." "The old songs are forbidden," I said, confused. "The council banned them decades ago. Many things that are forbidden are only forbidden because they're powerful, because they threaten those in control." His eyes met mine, intense and serious. "And power scares people who want to control everyone and everything." We looked at each other for a long moment, the air thick between us. Then I started singing again, and he hummed along, his deep voice mixing with my rough one. The silver light from my hands got brighter, warmer, more intense. The last bit of poison pulled free from Thorn's tiny body like a splinter being removed, and I felt it dissolve into nothing, defeated and destroyed. Thorn took a deep breath, a real breath, strong and clear and healthy. His little eyes opened wide, actually opened for the first time in days, and they were bright and aware and alive. He looked at his father and made a happy sound, a little yip full of joy. Kyle made a noise like a sob and a laugh mixed together, relief and joy and love all tangled up. He reached out and touched his son's head with one finger, so gentle, like Thorn was made of glass. "Thorn, oh, my son, my boy." The pup yipped again and reached for Kale with one small paw, his little claws extending. Then he turned his head and looked at me. His silver eyes, so much like his father's, were curious and grateful. He reached for me too, his tiny paw stretching out, asking, without thinking. I gave him my finger. He wrapped his whole paw around it and held on tight, his grip surprisingly strong for something so small. His fur was soft and warm, and his little heartbeat was strong and steady under my glowing hands. Perfect, healthy, alive. I started crying. I could not help it, could not stop it. 3 days of fear and work and magic all came pouring out at once. Tears ran down my face, hot and fast, and I could not stop them, could not hold them back. Kale's hand landed on my shoulder, big and warm and solid and real. "You did it. You saved him. You brought him back from the edge of death." I looked up at the Alpha through my tears. Vision blurry, and his face was different, softer, open, like he was seeing me for the first time. Really seeing me, not as the worthless Omega, but as the person who saved what he loved most in the world. "I couldn't let him die," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I just couldn't. He's innocent. He deserves to live. I know." His hand moved from my shoulder to my face, his thumb wiping away my tears, with infinite gentleness. The touch was so gentle it made me cry harder. No one had ever touched me with gentleness before. Thank you. For my son. For everything. For being brave enough to use your gift even though it scared you. Thorn still held my finger, his tiny paw warm and alive. Kale's hand was still on my face, cupping my cheek. And in that small moment, in my broken cottage that smelled like herbs and candle wax and old magic, something connected between the three of us. Something that felt old and true and unbreakable and right. I did not know what it was called. I did not understand it fully, but I felt it wrap around my heart like light wrapping around darkness, warm and soft and safe and whole. And for the first time in my whole life, I did not feel alone. They came on the fourth night, when Thorn was finally sleeping peacefully and I had let myself close my eyes for just a moment. The door crashed open so hard it flew off one hinge and hit the wall with a bang that shook the whole cottage. I jerked awake, my heart jumping into my throat, my body flooding with fear. 3 huge wolves in human form filled my doorway, blocking out the moonlight behind them. I knew them all. Garrett, Marcus, and Dane. Seraphina's most loyal warriors. The ones who did her dirty work without asking questions, without mercy. Garrett was the biggest, with shoulders like a bull and arms covered in scars from 100 fights. His eyes were cold and mean, empty of any kindness. Marcus had a broken nose that never healed right, giving him a permanent snarl even when his face was relaxed. Dane was the youngest, but maybe the meanest, with a smile that said he enjoyed hurting people, that their pain brought him joy. They stepped into my cottage like they owned it, their boots heavy on my wooden floor. They smelled like anger and violence and something darker. They smelled like wolves who had come to do something terrible. Thorn woke up and started crying, scared by the noise and the strangers and the bad energy filling the room. His little voice broke my heart. He had just gotten better. He was supposed to be safe now. I moved without thinking, without planning. My body moved on instinct. I put myself between the bassinet where Thorn slept and these 3 wolves. I spread my arms wide, making myself as big as possible, even though I was so much smaller than any of them. The Luna demands the pup be returned to the pack house, Garrett said. His voice was flat and cold, like he was reading from a script. Right now, immediately. No delays. My mouth went dry. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears, feel it in my throat. He's not ready to be moved. He needs another day to get stronger. Maybe 2. Moving him now could make him sick again. We don't care what you think he needs, Marcus interrupted, moving closer with heavy steps. You're nobody. You're nothing. You don't give orders. You don't make decisions. And you're to be punished, Dane added, that mean smile spreading across his face like poison, for using forbidden magic on the Alpha's heir. Dark magic. The kind that gets Omegas killed slowly. The kind that gets them exiled or worse. Fear shot through me like ice water in my veins, cold and sharp. But I did not move away from Thorn. The pup was crying harder now, his little voice breaking my heart into pieces. He had just gotten better. He was still so small and weak. Moving him now, taking him out into the cold night, could make him sick again, could kill him. Please, I said, hating how my voice shook, hating my own fear. Just one more day. Let him get stronger. Let him... Garrett moved fast, faster than something his size should be able to move. His huge hand closed around my throat and lifted me off my feet like I weighed nothing. My toes kicked at air, finding no ground. I could not breathe. His fingers pressed into my windpipe, cutting off my air completely. You don't get to say please, he growled, his face inches from mine. His breath smelled like meat and ale and rot. You don't get to ask for anything. You don't get to have opinions. You're an Omega. You're less than nothing. You're dirt under our feet. And you used forbidden magic. That means you die. Slow and painful. Black spots danced in my vision, spreading like spilled ink. My hands clawed at his wrist, trying to break free, but he was so much stronger. I could not breathe. could not think, could not do anything but kick and struggle and die. Thorn was screaming now, a high, scared sound that cut through everything. A sound of pure terror. The door exploded, not opened, not burst open, exploded. The whole thing blew off the other hinge and crashed to the floor in pieces, wood splintering everywhere. Cale stood in the doorway, and he did not look human anymore. He looked like rage given form, like death wearing skin, like every nightmare come to life. Power poured off him in waves so strong I could feel it even through the hands choking me, even through my oxygen-starved brain. Alpha power. The kind that made every wolf in 100 miles want to bow down, to submit, to bare their throats. The kind that said he was the strongest, the most dangerous, the one you did not cross unless you wanted to die. His eyes were not silver anymore. They glowed gold, bright as fire in the dark, burning with fury. His hands had claws now, long and sharp and deadly. His teeth were changing, getting bigger, sharper, turning into fangs. He was between human and wolf, stuck in that in-between place that meant he was too angry to control his shift, too furious to maintain his human form. Put her down. Each word came out like a growl, deep and rumbling and full of promise. The promise of pain, of suffering, of death. Garrett dropped me instantly, his survival instincts overriding everything else. I fell to the floor hard, gasping for air, my throat burning. I coughed and choked, trying to breathe, each breath painful. All three warriors dropped to their knees like puppets with cut strings. Their heads went down, necks exposed, showing their throats in the ultimate sign of submission. It was pure instinct. When an alpha used that much power, that much command, your body obeyed before your brain could think about it. You had no choice. Alpha, Garrett said, his voice shaking now, all his confidence gone. The Luna commanded us, she said. I don't care. Cale's voice was not human anymore. It was all wolf, all growl, all barely controlled fury. You came into this woman's home without permission. You put your hands on her. You tried to kill her. You threatened her after she saved my son's life, after she did what no one else could do. But the Luna said she used dark magic. Marcus tried to explain. Still on his knees, still showing his throat, his voice desperate. She said the Omega was dangerous. She said, this woman is under my personal protection. Cale moved into the cottage, and even I wanted to bow down, wanted to submit, wanted to show my throat. The power coming off him was huge, crushing, impossible to fight. Anyone who harms her answers to me. Anyone who threatens her becomes my enemy. Anyone who touches her without permission signs their own death warrant. Do you understand? Yes, Alpha. All three said together, their voices small and scared. The pup stays here until I say he's ready to move. Not Seraphina, not the healers, not the council. Me. I decide. Is that clear? Cale's claws were still out, glinting in the candlelight, dripping with the promise of violence. Yes, Alpha. And if any of you ever touch her again, if you ever threaten her, if you even look at her wrong, if you even think about hurting her, I will rip your throats out with my bare hands. I will make it slow. I will make it painful. I will make you beg for death long before I grant it. Do you understand? Yes, Alpha. Get out, now. Run. And tell Seraphina if she sends anyone else, I will deal with her myself. They ran. 3 huge warriors scrambled to their feet and ran out of my cottage like scared rabbits, like children fleeing a monster. I heard them crashing through the woods, running back to the pack house, their footsteps getting quieter and quieter. In the sudden quiet, I could hear Thorn still crying in his bassinet. His little voice was raw from screaming. I tried to stand up, wanted to go to him, but my legs were shaking too much. My throat hurt so bad. I could not stop coughing. Kyle was in front of me in one step, moving faster than should be possible. His hands were gentle again, human again, the claws gone. He knelt down beside me, his face full of worry and anger and something deeper. Let me see, he said softly, all the growl gone from his voice. I tilted my head back, exposing my throat. His fingers touched my neck, so careful, so gentle, checking for damage. I could feel bruises already forming, hot and swollen. My skin was on fire where Garrett's fingers had pressed, probably purple and ugly. I'm going to kill him, KL said quietly. It was not a threat. It was not anger. It was a simple statement of fact. I'm going to challenge him tomorrow and tear him apart in front of the whole pack. No, I croaked out. My voice sounded awful, all rough and broken and wrong. He was following orders. Serafina sent them. She's the one. Is going to learn she can't hurt you. His silver eyes met mine, and they were still glowing a little, still showing the wolf inside him. No one hurts you. Not anymore. Never again. I meant what I said. You're under my protection now. My personal protection. That means something in this pack. Why? The word came out as a whisper, barely audible. Why do you care? I'm nobody. I'm just the broken Omega who... You saved my son. His hands moved from my throat to cup my face, gentle and warm and solid. When everyone else gave up, when 5 trained healers said there was nothing to be done, you saved him. You used magic you've hidden your whole life, magic that could get you killed, and you saved him anyway. You stood up to the council. You defied the Luna. You're not nobody. You're the bravest person I know, the strongest person I know. Tears filled my eyes again. I was so tired of crying, but I could not stop. I was so scared. I thought they were going to kill me. I know. He pulled me against his chest, his huge arms wrapping around me, holding me safe. I had never been hugged before. Not like this. Not gentle and safe and like I mattered, like I was precious. I'm sorry I wasn't here. I went to get more herbs for Thorn, supplies from the forest. I should have stayed. I should have protected you better. I pressed my face against his shirt and let myself cry, let myself break, let myself be weak for just a moment. His hand rubbed my back in slow circles, soothing and steady. His heartbeat was strong and steady under my ear, a rhythm that said safe, safe, safe. He smelled like pine trees and winter storms, and safety and home. Thorn's crying got quieter, softer. I pulled away from Kale and looked at the bassinet. The little pup was watching us, his silver eyes big and worried and scared. He made a small whimper, reaching out with one paw, asking. He wants you, Kale said gently. I stood up, still shaky, my legs weak and trembling, and picked up Thorn. He was so light, so small, so precious. He curled against my chest and stopped crying immediately, just making little happy sounds, feeling safe again. Kale stood beside me, looking down at his son in my arms. His hand touched Thorn's small head, then moved to my face, tucking my hair behind my ear with infinite gentleness. He knows you saved him. Pups can sense these things. They know who cares for them, who protects them. You're packed to him now. Family. Family. The word made something warm bloom in my chest, spreading like sunshine. I had never had family. Not since my grandmother died when I was 12. I had been alone for so long, for so many years. I don't understand what's happening, I said quietly, looking up at Kale. Why you care. Why you're protecting me. Why any of this is real. I'm nothing to you. I'm just... You're everything to him. Kale's hand touched Thorn's small head, gentle and loving, then moved to my face, cupping my cheek. And you're becoming everything to me. The air between us changed, got thicker, warmer, more charged. His hand stayed on my face, his thumb brushing my cheek in slow circles. We were standing so close I could see gold flecks in his silver eyes. Could count his eyelashes if I wanted, could feel his breath on my face. I should go, he said. But he did not move, did not step back. Okay, I said, but I did not want him to, did not want to be alone. We stood there in my tiny broken cottage, Thorn sleeping peacefully in my arms between us. and something pulled tight in the space where our bodies almost touched. Something strong and scary and wonderful and impossible to name. Then he stepped back, breaking the spell, breaking the moment. "I'll stay outside tonight," he said, his voice rough and low. "In my wolf form, circling your cottage, keeping watch. In case they come back, you'll be safe. I promise. I swear on my life, you'll be safe." Before I could say anything, before I could respond, he walked out into the night. A few minutes later, I heard a wolf howl, deep and strong and protective and fierce. KL had shifted, and he was circling my cottage, keeping watch, protecting us. I put Thorn back in his bassinet and lay down on my bed. My throat still hurt. My whole body was shaking, but I felt safe. For the first time in my whole life, I felt completely safe. Outside, the Alpha's wolf howled again, and it sounded like a promise that nothing would hurt me ever again. Thorn got stronger every day. By the 5th day after his fever broke, he was crawling around my cottage on his little paws, exploring everything with his tiny nose and curious silver eyes. He would sniff the herbs on my shelves, batting at the jars with his paw. He would bat at the curtains with his little claws, making them swing. He would yip at dust floating in the sunlight that came through my cracked windows, trying to catch the tiny specks in his mouth. He was healthy and happy and alive and perfect. I spent every moment with him. I fed him warm milk from a bottle I made from a hollowed-out gourd. I sang him the old songs when he could not sleep, his little body curled against my chest. I cleaned his soft white fur with a damp cloth, gentle and careful. I watched him play and laughed when he tumbled over his own feet, his coordination still developing. My heart got bigger every time he looked at me with those silver eyes and reached for me with his small paws, asking to be held. Kyle visited every day. He would sit on my floor and play with Thorn, rolling a ball made of cloth back and forth. The huge Alpha, this mountain of a man, would laugh when his tiny son pounced on the ball and missed, tumbling over in a little white ball of fluff. It was strange seeing someone so powerful and scary be so gentle, so playful, so full of joy. Sometimes Kale would look at me while I was cooking or cleaning, stirring the pot over my small fire or sweeping the floor. I would feel his eyes on me like warm sunlight, heavy and intent. When I looked back, he would smile, and something in my chest would flutter like a bird trapped in a cage, desperate to get out. We did not talk about what happened the night his warriors came. We did not talk about how he held me while I cried, or the way he touched my face. We just existed together in my small cottage, taking care of Thorn, and it felt like a dream I did not want to wake up from. A beautiful dream where I was not alone. But on the 7th day, everything changed. KL came to my cottage in the early morning, right as the sun was rising and painting the sky pink and gold. I knew something was wrong as soon as I saw his face. His jaw was tight, muscles jumping. His eyes looked sad and angry at the same time, storm clouds gathering. "I have to leave," he said. No hello, no good morning, no smile. Just those 4 words that made my stomach drop like a stone into deep water. Thorn was sleeping in his bassinet, peaceful and content. I put down the herbs I was sorting and looked at KL, my hands suddenly cold. "Leave? Why? What happened?" "There's trouble at the northern border. Big trouble." He ran his hand through his dark hair, making it stick up everywhere, showing his stress. "Rogues attacked one of our patrols last night. 3 wolves are dead. 2 more are badly hurt. The council is calling for me to lead a hunt and secure the territory. It's my duty as Alpha. I have to go. I have no choice." I knew about duty. Duty meant doing what you had to do, even when you did not want to. Duty meant putting the pack first, always, before everything. But knowing that did not make it hurt less, did not make the fear less sharp. "How long will you be gone?" I asked. My voice sounded small and scared, like a child's. "I don't know. A week, maybe 2, maybe longer. It depends on how many rogues there are, how organized they are." He stepped closer to me, his huge form filling my small space. I need to ask you something. Will you keep Thorn here? With you? I trust you more than anyone at the pack house, more than the healers, more than the nannies. Serafina will try to take him back there, but he's safer with you. You saved his life. You'll keep him safe. My heart jumped, beating fast. He was leaving his son with me, his most precious thing in the whole world, the heir to his pack, and he was trusting me to keep Thorn safe. Me, the worthless Omega. Yes, I said without hesitation. Of course, yes. I'll protect him with my life. I swear it. Nothing will hurt him while you're gone. Something in Kale's face softened, the hard lines easing. He reached out and touched my cheek, the way he did that night when everything was scary and confusing. His hand was warm and rough and gentle, calloused from years of fighting. I know you will. You've already saved his life once. You stood up to the council for him. You defied Serafina. You're the bravest person I know. We stood there for a long moment, his hand on my face, my heart beating so hard I was sure he could hear it, could feel it vibrating the air between us. I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell him to be careful, to come back safe, to not forget about me while he was gone fighting rogues, but the words stuck in my throat like stones. I'll come back, he said quietly, like he could read my mind, like he could see inside my head to all my fears. I promise. I swear on everything I am, I'll come back. And when I do, we need to talk about everything, about what's happening between us. Before I could ask what he meant, before I could ask what was happening, he leaned down and kissed my forehead. It was quick and soft, barely a touch, just his lips pressing against my skin for one heartbeat. But it burned through me like fire, like lightning, like magic. Then he turned and walked to Thorn's bassinet. He picked up his sleeping son so carefully, like Thorn was made of glass that would shatter. Thorn made a sleepy sound and nuzzled against his father's chest, his little nose pushing into Kale's shirt. Kyle held him close, breathing in his puppy smell. His eyes closed, like he was trying to remember this moment forever, trying to burn it into his memory. Be good for her, he whispered to Thorn, his voice thick with emotion. She's special. She's important. She's going to take care of you while I'm gone, and I need you to be brave. He put Thorn back in the bassinet and tucked the blanket around him with gentle hands. Then he looked at me one more time, his silver eyes full of things he was not saying, full of words he did not have time to speak. Stay safe, he said. You too, I whispered, my throat tight. Then he was gone. I heard his footsteps on the porch, heavy and final. Heard him shift into his wolf form, bones cracking and reforming. Heard his paws running through the forest, getting quieter and quieter, until there was nothing but silence and emptiness. I stood in my cottage, touching the spot on my forehead where he kissed me, and felt something break inside my chest. It was not a bad break. It was the kind of break that happens when something new is trying to grow, and the old shell has to crack open to make room. Growing pains. Thorn woke up a few minutes later and started crying. Not his sick cry or his scared cry. His "Where is my father" cry. His "I want my dad" cry. I picked him up and held him close, rocking him gently, swaying back and forth. I know, I told him, my own voice breaking. I miss him too. But he'll come back, he promised. He swore. And alphas don't break their promises. The pup pushed his small face against my neck and kept crying, his little body shaking. I walked around the cottage, singing the old songs, trying to make him feel better, trying to comfort us both. Eventually, he stopped crying and just made sad whimpering sounds, little noises of loss. Days passed. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Thorn and I fell into a routine that felt both comfortable and lonely. I would wake up when the sun came up and feed him his bottle, holding him close. He would play while I worked in my small garden behind the cottage, digging up herbs and pulling weeds, preparing for winter. I would sing to him while I cooked our meals, simple food but made with love. At night, I would hold him until he fell asleep, his tiny heart beating against my chest, then put him in his bassinet next to my bed. But the cottage felt too quiet without KL, too empty. I kept expecting to hear his footsteps on the porch, heavy and reassuring. Kept turning around, thinking I would see him in the corner, watching me with those silver eyes. But he was not there. Just his absence, heavy and aching, like a missing tooth. Thorn missed his father too. Sometimes he would stare at the door and whimper, waiting. Sometimes he would not eat, just pushing the bottle away with his paw, refusing. I understood. Missing someone hurt like a physical thing, a pain you could feel in your bones, in your heart, in your soul. On the 5th night, I had a dream. A nightmare. I was standing in a dark forest, and I could hear wolves howling, but the howls sounded wrong, angry and violent, and full of pain and dying. I tried to run toward them, tried to help, but my feet would not move. They were stuck to the ground like roots. I tried to scream Kale's name, tried to warn him, but no sound came out. My voice was gone. I woke up, sweating, my heart pounding, my body shaking. Thorn was awake too, staring at me with worried eyes, sensing my fear. It was just a dream, I told him, but my voice shook. Just a bad dream, nothing real. But what if something happened to Kale? What if the rogues were stronger than he thought? What if there were more of them than expected? What if he did not come back? What if he died out there and I never saw him again? I picked up Thorn and held him tight against my chest, feeling his small heartbeat under my hand. His little tongue licked my chin, trying to comfort me, trying to make me feel better. "Your father is strong," I whispered, more to convince myself than him. "He's the alpha, the strongest wolf in the territory. He'll be okay. He has to be okay," he promised. But fear lived in my chest now, cold and heavy and dark. Every day that passed without word from Kale made it grow bigger, heavier, darker. On the 8th day, Serafina came to my cottage. She did not knock. She never knocked. She just walked in like she owned the place, like she owned everything, wearing a dress the color of ice and her crown glittering on her perfect hair. "Where is my son?" she demanded, her voice sharp as knives. I stood up from the table where I was mashing vegetables for Thorn's lunch. The pup was napping in his bassinet, his small body rising and falling with peaceful breaths, completely unaware of the danger. "He's sleeping," I said, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was racing. She walked over and looked down at Thorn. Her face did not change, did not soften. She did not smile or look happy to see her baby healthy and safe. She just stared at him like he was a thing, an object, not a person, not her child. "Kael had no right to leave him here with you," she said, her voice cold and hard. "He should be at the pack house, with proper care, with proper people, not with a broken Omega in a broken cottage." "He is getting proper care," I said, trying to keep my voice steady and calm. "He's healthy and happy. He's eating well. He's bonding with you." She turned those ice blue eyes on me, and they were full of hate, so pure it felt like a physical blow. A pup his age bonds with whoever cares for him, whoever feeds him. "You're stealing my son, turning him against me." "I'm not stealing anything. Kael asked me to watch him. I'm just doing what the Alpha commanded." "Kael is not here." She stepped closer to me, and I smelled her perfume, cold and sharp like winter, like death. "And while he's gone, I am in charge. The council agrees with me. Thorn belongs at the pack house, in his proper place. You will give him to me, now, right now, this second." My heart started beating fast. Fear made my hands shake, made my knees weak. But under the fear was something else, something new, something that had been growing since the night I saved Thorn's life. Anger, the kind that burns hot and fierce and does not back down. "No," I said. Serafina looked shocked, like I had slapped her across her perfect face. "What did you say?" I said no. I moved between her and Thorn's bassinet, spreading my arms, making myself a barrier. Kael left him with me. He trusted me to keep Thorn safe. I'm not giving him to you just because you're mad that your son loves someone else." Her face turned red, color flooding her cheeks, ugly anger twisting her perfect features. "You stupid Omega. You foolish, broken thing. You have no power here, no rights, no authority. I could have you dragged out of this cottage and beaten until you can't walk. I could have you killed. Then do it." I lifted my chin and looked her straight in the eyes, breaking every rule I had ever learned, every lesson about keeping my head down. "Beat me. Drag me out. Kill me if you want. But I'm not giving you Thorn. Not until KL comes back and tells me himself. Not until he says it's safe." For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Luna and Omega. Power and nothing. Ice and fire. But I did not look away. I did not back down. I did not bend. Finally, Serafina smiled. It was a terrible smile, full of cruelty and promises of pain. "You'll regret this. You'll regret every word. The council meets tomorrow at noon. They'll decide your punishment for refusing a direct order from your Luna, for defying pack law. And trust me, Omega, they will make you suffer. They will make you wish you had never been born." She turned and walked out, her dress flowing behind her like a river of ice, like winter itself. I stood there shaking, my whole body trembling with fear and anger and something that felt almost like pride. I had stood up to her, me, the worthless Omega, who always kept her head down, who always obeyed, who always accepted her place. I had looked the Luna in the eyes and said no. Thorn woke up and made a questioning sound. Sensing the tension, I picked him up and held him close, breathing in his puppy smell, feeling his warmth. "It's okay," I whispered, even though I was not sure if it was. "Everything's going to be okay. I won't let them take you. I promise. I swear on my life." But outside my window, dark clouds were gathering. A storm was coming, and I had no idea if I was strong enough to survive it. They came at dawn, when the sky was still gray and cold and the world was quiet except for birds starting their morning songs. I heard them before I saw them. Heavy footsteps. Many of them. Too many. The whole cottage shook as they climbed onto my porch, wood creaking under their weight. I was already awake, feeding Thorn his morning bottle. The pup looked up at me with his big silver eyes, milk on his little nose, completely innocent. He could feel my fear. Pups always knew when something was wrong. They could sense emotions like wolves could smell blood. The knock on my door was loud and official. 3 hard bangs that said this was not a friendly visit. This was pack business. Serious business. "Open up," a deep voice called, commanding and cold. "Council orders. Open this door immediately." My hands shook as I put Thorn back in his bassinet. He started to whimper, reaching for me with his little paws. I wanted to pick him up and run out the back door, into the forest, away from whatever was about to happen. Run and never stop running. But there was nowhere to run. This was Packland. They would find me. They would always find me. I opened the door. 5 members of the council stood on my porch wearing their formal robes. The robes were dark green with silver thread forming symbols of the pack, marking them as the pack's leaders and judges. Elder Richard was in front, his face hard and cold like stone. He was old, maybe 60 or 70, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many winters and held no warmth. Next to him stood Elder Margaret, thin and sharp like a knife, her face all angles. The other 3 I did not know well, but I recognized them from pack meetings I was never allowed to attend, meetings where my fate was decided without my voice. Behind them, like a white ghost in the morning light, stood Serafina. She wore her crown and a smile that made my blood run cold, made my skin crawl, a smile that said she had won. "By order of the council," Elder Richard said, reading from a scroll with official seals. "The Omega, known as the Outcast, is hereby commanded to surrender the Alpha's heir, Thorn, to the Luna's care immediately." Immediately means right now. Refusal will result in exile beyond pack borders, and forfeiture of all pack protection. Do you understand these terms? The words hit me like fists, like physical blows. Exile meant being thrown out into the wild, where rogues and wild animals roamed freely, where a wolfless Omega like me would not survive more than a few days, maybe hours. It meant leaving the only home I had ever known. It meant never seeing KL again, never knowing if he was safe. But it also meant losing Thorn. And that thought hurt worse than anything else, worse than exile, worse than death. The Alpha left Thorn in my care, I said, trying to keep my voice steady and strong. He trusted me to watch his son. He commanded me to keep Thorn safe until he returned. The Alpha is not here, Elder Margaret said, her voice sharp and mean, cutting. And the Luna is within her rights to claim her child. Pack law is clear on this matter. The mother has final say. Then wait until Kael returns, I said, desperation creeping into my voice. Let him decide. Let him. We do not take orders from Omegas, Elder Richard interrupted, his voice final. Especially not from broken Omegas who use forbidden magic. You have 1 minute to bring the pup out. If you refuse, we will take him by force and drag you to the border ourselves. 1 minute, starting now. Behind them, Seraphina's smile grew bigger, wider, uglier. She was enjoying this. She had planned this whole thing, used the council to get what she wanted, and now she was going to watch me lose everything. Watch me break. I looked at the 5 council members, looked at their hard faces and cold eyes and closed hearts. They did not care that I saved Thorn's life. When every healer gave up, they did not care that he was happy and healthy with me. They did not care that he called for me when he was scared. All they cared about was pack law and hierarchy and keeping Omegas in their place, keeping them down. Something inside me shifted. That new thing that had been growing since the night I stood up to Seraphina. That thing that felt like courage. That thing that felt like refusing to be small anymore. No, I said. The council members looked shocked. Elder Margaret's eyes went wide. Even Seraphina stopped smiling for a second, surprise breaking through her mask. What did you say? Elder Richard asked, his voice dangerous. I said no. My voice was stronger now, louder, more certain. I won't give you Thorn. Kael left him with me because he knew his son would be safe here. He knew I would protect him. And I won't let you take him just because your Luna wants to prove she has power over me. Just because she's threatened by what we have. How dare you, Seraphina shouted, stepping forward, her face red with rage. You defiant little Omega. You broken, worthless thing. You think you can refuse the council? Refuse me? I am the Luna. You are nothing. I think I can protect a baby who needs protecting, I shot back, my own anger rising to match hers. I think I can stand between him and people who see him as a thing to own instead of a life to love, a person to care for. I think I can be brave even when I'm scared. Elder Richard's face turned red with anger, veins standing out on his forehead. You leave us no choice. Guards. 2 huge warriors stepped onto the porch, appearing from the sides. I recognized them both, Drake and Silas. Both were twice my size, with muscles like rocks and faces that showed no mercy, no kindness. They were enforcers, punishers. Remove the Omega from the cottage, Elder Richard commanded. Bring the pup to the Luna. Use whatever force is necessary. She has chosen her fate. Drake reached for me. His hand was big enough to wrap around my whole arm, to snap my bones like twigs. I jerked back, but there was nowhere to go. He grabbed me and pulled me toward the door, his grip like iron, bruising. Inside, Thorn started crying. Not his normal cry. A scared, desperate cry that ripped my heart in half. A cry that said, please don't leave me. Please don't go. I need you. No! I screamed, fighting against Drake's grip, kicking and clawing. Please! He needs me. He'll be scared. He's just a baby. Should have thought of that before you defied your Luna, Drake said, dragging me off the porch. His voice was flat, emotionless, like he was discussing the weather. Silas went into my cottage. I heard Thorn's cries get louder, more desperate, more broken. I fought harder, kicking and clawing at Drake's hands, but he was so much stronger. He pulled me across the dirt yard like I weighed nothing. Silas came out carrying Thorn's bassinet. The tiny pup was standing up in it, his little paws on the edge, crying so hard he was shaking. His whole small body trembled. When he saw me being dragged away, he howled. It was a baby howl, high and broken and full of grief, and it sounded like his heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. "Mama!" he cried. Not in words, but I understood it anyway. He was calling for me, the person who had saved him, the person who fed him and sang to him and kept him safe. His mama. Something broke inside me. Not broke like giving up, broke like a dam breaking, letting out a flood, broke like chains snapping. "Let me go!" I shouted, and my voice was not my voice anymore. It was bigger, stronger, filled with something ancient and powerful and furious. My hands started glowing. Silver light poured from my palms, bright as the full moon, bright as the sun. It was the same light I used to heal Thorn, but stronger now, wilder, more dangerous. Drake yelled and let go of me, stumbling back. The light had burned him where he touched me. His palms were red and smoking and blistering. He stared at his hands in shock and pain. I did not think, did not plan. I ran to Silas and put my glowing hands on the bassinet. Light exploded outward, bright and hot and powerful. It knocked him back. He fell on his rear end, hard, hitting the ground with a thud. The bassinet stayed in the air, floating, held up by my magic, by my will. Every person on my porch stared at me with wide eyes, with fear. Even Serafina looked scared, really scared for the first time. "You will not take him," I said. My voice echoed, like 100 voices speaking at once. Like the earth itself was speaking through me. "He is mine to protect. He is my family. And I will die before I let you take him from me. I will burn this whole forest down before I let you hurt him." The light around my hands got brighter, hotter. I could feel power flowing through me, power I had kept hidden my whole life. It was scary and beautiful and huge and unstoppable. Elder Richard found his voice first, his face pale. "This is forbidden magic, dark magic. We were right to exile you. You're corrupted, dangerous." "This is the old magic," I said, my voice strong and certain. "The magic our ancestors used before you made laws against it. The magic that saved the Alpha's heir when all your fancy healers failed. All your expensive medicines and your rules and your hierarchy. And if using it makes me dark, then I'll be dark. But I won't be powerless anymore. I won't be small. I won't be nothing." I pulled the floating bassinet toward me and set it down gently, so gently. Thorn stopped crying the second I touched him. I picked him up and held him against my chest, one arm around him, the other hand still glowing with silver light, ready to fight. "Leave," I told the council, told everyone. "Tell Serafina she can have Thorn when Kale comes back and gives him to her himself. Until then, he stays with me. And if anyone tries to take him, if anyone tries to hurt him, I'll use every bit of magic in my blood to stop them. Every last drop." Elder Margaret stepped forward, shaking, her voice trembling. "You're threatening the council? You're threatening your Luna." "I'm promising them." I met her eyes, then Elder Richard's, then Serafina's. "This pup is under my protection, the same way Kale put me under his protection. Touch him, and you'll see what I'm really capable of. Touch him, and you'll learn why the old magic was feared." For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silver light around my hands cast strange shadows on all their faces, making them look like ghosts, like shadows, like nothing. Finally, Elder Richard rolled up his scroll. "The council will discuss this. But be warned, Omega. When the Alpha returns, you will answer for your defiance, for using forbidden magic, for threatening pack authority, for everything." "I'll answer to Kale," I said. "No one else, only him." Serafina's face was white with rage, with hate, with something darker. Her hands were clenched into fists. Her voice shook when she spoke. "You stupid girl. You think Kale will protect you after this? You think he'll choose you over his Luna? Over his mate? Over the mother of his child? Our bond is real. It's unbreakable." Something in her voice made me pause. The way she said mate sounded wrong, desperate, like she was trying to convince herself, not me, like she was lying. But I did not have time to think about that now. "Get off my property," I said. "All of you. Now, before I make you leave." They left, slowly, looking back at me like I was a wild animal that might attack, might strike. Serafina was the last to go, her pale eyes full of promises of pain, promises of revenge, promises of worse things to come. When they were gone, when I could not see them anymore, the silver light around my hands faded. My legs went weak. I sank down onto my porch steps, still holding Thorn tight against my chest, still protecting him with my body. The pup pushed his face into my neck and made small, happy sounds. He felt safe now, protected, home. "It's okay," I whispered to him, even though my whole body was shaking, trembling with fear and exhaustion. "I've got you. Nobody's taking you away from me. Nobody, I promise." I had defied the council, used forbidden magic in front of witnesses, threatened pack authority, burned a warrior with my bare hands. When Kale came back, I would face punishment, maybe exile, maybe death, maybe worse. But right now, sitting on my broken porch with Thorn in my arms, with the morning sun warming my face, I felt something I had never felt before. I felt strong. I felt powerful. I felt like I mattered. And nobody, not the council, not Serafina, not anyone, could take that away from me. 2 more days passed. Long, quiet days where I jumped at every sound, expecting the council to come back with more warriors, with weapons, with chains, but they did not come. The forest around my cottage stayed empty and silent, like the whole pack was holding its breath, waiting. Thorn stayed close to me, like he knew something bad almost happened, like he remembered. He would not let me put him down without crying. So I carried him everywhere, against my hip, singing the old songs, trying to pretend my world was not falling apart around me. On the 3rd day, I heard it, a howl that made my whole body freeze, made my heart stop, deep and strong and full of command and power. Alpha call. Kyle was back. Kyle was home. Kyle was safe. My heart started beating so fast I felt dizzy, like I might faint. He was home. He was safe. He was alive. But what would he do when he found out what happened? When he learned I defied the council with magic? When he heard I threatened his Luna? When he discovered I burned his warriors? I put Thorn in his bassinet and tried to make myself look presentable, tried to fix the mess I was. My hair was tangled and wild. My dress was old and worn and had stains. I looked like what I was. A scared Omega who had no idea what was about to happen, who had no plan. More howls joined the first one, hundreds of them. The whole pack was gathering. I could hear them in the distance, their voices rising together, responding to their alpha's call. Something big was happening, something important. Then I heard footsteps running toward my cottage, fast and heavy and urgent. I opened the door before he could knock. Kale stood on my porch, and he looked different. His face was harder, more fierce. His eyes were bright with something intense. He had blood on his shirt, probably from the rogue fight, dark stains. But he was whole. He was safe. He was here. He was real. "Are you okay?" he asked, his eyes searching my face like he was looking for injuries, for damage. "Is Thorn okay? I heard what happened with the council. I heard about the magic. Are you hurt? Did they hurt you?" "We're fine," I said quickly, my words tumbling out. "Thorn is perfect. I didn't let them take him. I'm sorry if I caused trouble, if I made things worse, but I couldn't." He stepped forward and pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe, crushing me against his chest. His heart was pounding against my ear, racing. His whole body was shaking, trembling. "Thank you," he said into my hair. "Thank you for protecting him. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for not backing down." I wanted to stay there forever, safe in his arms, breathing in his scent. But he pulled away, his face serious and intense. "I need you to come with me, both of you, right now. The whole pack is gathering at the central circle. There's something I need to show everyone. Something I need to tell them. Something that changes everything." Fear shot through me like ice water. "Are you going to punish me? For using magic? For defying the council? For burning your warriors?" "No." His silver eyes were fierce, burning. "I'm going to end this, all of it. The lies, the manipulation, the cruelty, everything that's kept you suffering, everything that's kept the truth hidden." I did not understand, but I trusted him. With my life, I picked up Thorn and followed Kale through the forest. The path to the central circle was familiar. I had walked it 1,000 times, always keeping to the shadows, always trying to be invisible, always afraid. But this time I walked beside the Alpha, carrying his son, and wolves stared at us as we passed. They whispered behind their hands, their eyes wide and confused and curious. The central circle was packed with wolves, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, in human and beast form, standing in rows that went back into the trees. The council sat on their stone seats at the front, wearing their green robes, and in the very center, on a throne made of carved wood and silver and decorated with crystals, sat Seraphina. She looked like a queen from a fairy tale. Her crown caught the sunlight, throwing rainbow sparkles. Her white dress was perfect and flowing. Her face was calm and cold and beautiful. When she saw me walk into the circle with Kael, something flashed in her eyes. Fear? Rage? Panic? I could not tell. Kael walked to the center of the circle, to the great stone platform where alphas stood when they had important things to say, when they made announcements. I stayed at the edge, holding Thorn, trying to make myself small again, trying to disappear. But Kael turned and held out his hand to me. "Come here, stand with me." Every wolf in the circle gasped. Omegas did not stand on the Alpha platform. It was forbidden by law. It was wrong. It broke every rule. "Kael," Seraphina said, her voice sharp and warning. "What are you doing? Stop this right now." "What I should have done 20 years ago," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the circle. "Telling the truth, finally telling the truth." I walked up to him on shaking legs, my knees weak. His hand was warm and strong when I took it, solid and real. He pulled me close to his side, and I stood there on the platform with the Alpha and his heir, and the whole pack stared at us like we had lost our minds, like the world was ending. Kael's voice rang out, strong and clear and commanding. "For 20 years, I've been told I had a true mate bond with Seraphina, that our union was blessed by the moon goddess herself, that our connection was destined and unbreakable and fated." Seraphina stood up from her throne, her face pale. "Kael, stop this. Stop it right now." It was a lie. His voice got louder, full of alpha command that made everyone freeze. A spell, cast by a coven of dark witches, paid for in blood and gold and dark magic, designed to mimic a mate bond, to trap me into an alliance that benefited certain families' political ambitions, to make me think I loved her when I didn't. The crowd exploded with noise. Wolves shouted questions, gasped, growled, howled. The council looked at each other with wide eyes, their faces pale. "You're lying!" Seraphina screamed, her voice breaking, her perfect mask cracking. "He's lying! Our bond is real! It's real! Tell them it's real!" Kael pulled out a leather journal from inside his jacket. It was old and worn, with the pack's official seal burned into the cover, marking it as authentic. "The records are here. Every payment made to the coven. Every ingredient used in the spell. The ritual details. Witness statements from pack members who knew but stayed silent, who kept the secret, including 3 current council members who were part of the conspiracy. He looked at Elder Richard, Elder Margaret, and 1 other elder. Their faces went white as snow, pale as death. "You knew," Kale said, his voice like ice, cold and cutting. "You knew the bond was false, and you said nothing. You let me believe a lie for 20 years. You helped arrange a political marriage for power and money, and called it destiny. Called it love." Elder Richard stood up, shaking, his voice trembling. "Alpha, we did what we thought was best for the pack, for stability, for strength. You did what was best for your own power." Kale's eyes flashed gold, his alpha aura filling the circle, pressing down on everyone like a physical weight. Wolves dropped to their knees, unable to stand against it. Even I felt the pressure, heavy and huge. "You arranged for me to marry Serafina because her family had money and connections and influence, because it made you richer, more powerful, more important, and you covered it up with a spell that made me believe I loved her, that made me think we were fated." Serafina was crying now, tears running down her perfect face, mascara streaking. But her eyes were not sad, they were furious, full of rage and hatred. "So what if it was a spell? We've been together for 20 years. We have a son. You can't just throw all of that away. You can't just end our marriage." "You knew," Kale said quietly, turning to her, his voice softer but somehow more terrible. "You've known from the beginning, from the very first day. And when a real bond began forming, when I met someone who called to my wolf in ways your false magic never could, you tried to destroy her. You tried to break her. You tried to make her so small she would disappear." He looked at me, his silver eyes soft and full of something that made my chest tight. "The woman who saved my son when everyone else gave up. The woman who possesses gifts our pack hasn't seen in generations. The woman you've beaten, humiliated, and tried to exile because she threatened your hold on power, because she was everything you could never be." My breath stopped. My heart stopped. The whole world stopped spinning. "My true mate," Kale said, his voice carrying to every corner of the circle. The pack went completely silent. Not a single wolf made a sound. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing, like nature itself was holding its breath. Kale turned to face me fully, taking both my hands in his. Thorn between us. "I am so sorry," Kale said, his voice breaking with emotion. "For every day you suffered, for every beating you took that I didn't stop, for not seeing sooner, for not protecting you better, for letting them hurt you for so long." He dropped to one knee in front of me, in front of the entire pack, humbling himself. "I offer you everything I am, everything I have. My love, my protection, my pack. Not as your alpha commanding you, as your mate asking you, as the man who loves you begging you, if you'll have me." Behind him, Serafina screamed, a sound of pure rage and loss. She ran at us, her hands out like claws, her face twisted and ugly. "You can't. She's nothing. She's broken. She's worthless. She's—" Kael's power exploded outward like a bomb. Invisible force. Serafina flew backward like she was hit by a giant invisible hand, landing hard on the ground 10 feet away. She did not get up. She lay there crying and screaming. "She's my mate," Kael said, his voice echoing through the circle, through the forest, through everything. "And the next Luna of this pack, anyone who harms her, anyone who disrespects her, anyone who treats her as less than she is, will answer to me, will face my wrath. Is that clear?" "Yes, Alpha," hundreds of voices said together, in perfect unity. I was crying. I could not help it, could not stop it. Tears poured down my face as I looked at this powerful man kneeling in front of me, offering me everything, offering me the world. "I'm scared," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I don't know how to be a Luna. I don't know how to be anything but an Omega, but broken Omega." "You know how to be brave," Kael said, standing up and cupping my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away my tears. "You know how to be strong. You know how to love and protect and fight for what matters. That's all a Luna needs to be. That's everything a Luna should be." He looked at the pack, his voice strong. "This woman saved my heir when everyone else gave up. She stood against the council to protect him. She used gifts we've forbidden because we fear what we don't understand. She's everything a Luna should be, and I'm asking her to stand by my side, to help me lead this pack into a future where power is measured by strength of character, not bloodlines, by courage, not hierarchy." Then he looked back at me, his silver eyes full of love and hope and fear and vulnerability. "What do you say? Will you be my Luna? Will you be my mate? Will you choose me?" I looked at him, at Thorn in my arms, at the hundreds of wolves watching us, at Seraphina crying on the ground, her crown fallen off, her perfect image shattered forever. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who kept her head down and her mouth shut, the one who believed she was broken and worthless and wrong. That girl was gone. She died the night I saved Thorn, the moment I stood up to Seraphina, the second I chose courage over fear. "Yes," I said. My voice was strong and clear and sure and certain. "Yes, I'll stand with you. Yes, I'll be your mate. Yes, I choose you. I choose us." Kale pulled me close and kissed me. It was not a gentle kiss. It was fierce and desperate and full of 20 years of being trapped in a lie and finally finding truth, finally finding love. The pack howled, a sound of celebration and acceptance and new beginnings. When we pulled apart, the world had changed. I was not an Omega anymore. I was the Alpha's mate, the future Luna, the woman who would help lead this pack into a new future. And I was not scared anymore. I was ready. 6 months later, I stood in the great hall wearing silver. The dress was beautiful, made of soft fabric that caught the light when I moved, shimmering like moonlight on water. Silver thread was stitched into patterns of moons and stars and ancient symbols across the bodice. The sleeves were long and flowing, moving like water around my arms. The skirt brushed the floor when I walked, making soft sounds. It was nothing like the worn, dirty dresses I used to wear in my cottage. Nothing like the rags that marked me as worthless. On my head sat a crown, not Seraphina's old crown with its sharp edges and cold diamonds that cut and hurt. This one was different. Made of silver vines twisted together like a living thing, with moonstones that glowed soft white, capturing the light. Kale had it made special for me, designed just for me. He said it should represent who I really was, a healer, a protector, someone who brought light to dark places, someone who chose love over fear. I looked at myself in the long mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her chin was up, not down. Her shoulders were straight, not hunched. Her eyes were bright and confident and alive, not scared and broken. She looked like a Luna. She looked like she belonged. I still could not believe I was her, that she was me. A knock on the door made me turn, made my heart jump. "Come in." Kale walked into our bedroom, and my breath caught the way it always did when I saw him, every single time. He wore his Alpha ceremonial clothes, all black leather and silver buckles that gleamed. His dark hair was brushed back for once, showing his scarred jaw. His silver eyes found mine and went soft, melting. "You look beautiful," he said, walking over to me with long strides. "I look terrified," I admitted, my voice shaking. Today was the ceremony. The official ceremony where I would become Luna in front of the entire pack and all the neighboring packs we had invited. Hundreds of wolves would be watching, judging, deciding if the wolfless Omega was worthy of standing beside their Alpha, deciding if I deserved this. Kale took my hands in his. His hands were so much bigger than mine, rough and scarred from years of fighting and leading and surviving. But they were always gentle when they touched me, always careful. "You've already proven yourself 100 times over," he said, his voice sure and steady. "The pack loves you. They've seen what you can do. They've seen your strength." He was right. The last 6 months had been busy. overwhelming. After Serafina was banished from Packlands and the corrupt council members were removed and replaced, everything changed. The whole world shifted. I opened a healing house in what used to be my tiny cottage. I expanded it, added rooms, brought in herbs and medicines and students. Now sick wolves came to me instead of hiding their illnesses in shame. I taught them the old songs, the ancient ways, showed them the old ways of healing that had been forgotten and forbidden. At first, they were scared, suspicious, afraid of the old magic, afraid of me. But then I saved Elder Thomas's daughter from a wasting sickness no one could cure, a disease that was eating her from inside. Then I healed a young wolf's broken leg that the pack doctors said would never work right again, that he would limp forever. Then I helped a mother deliver twins when the birth went wrong and both babies were dying. One success at a time. One saved life at a time. One by one, they started to trust me, started to see that my magic was not dark or dangerous or evil. It was old and powerful and good and necessary. But today was different. Today was official. Today I would wear the Luna crown in front of everyone and promise to lead beside KL. Today I would become what I never thought I could be. What if I mess up? I asked, my old fears rising. What if I say the words wrong, or trip over my dress, or forget what to do? KL kissed me, cutting off my worried words. It was a soft kiss, gentle and sweet and full of love. When he pulled back, he was smiling, his whole face warm. Then you'll fix it, he said simply, the way you fix everything, with courage and grace, and that stubborn streak that makes you refuse to give up, that makes you fight even when you're scared. A small yip came from the corner. We both turned to see Thorn standing up on his back legs, his front paws on the edge of his bed. He was so much bigger now, growing fast. 6 months old and already the size of a full-grown dog, maybe bigger. His white fur was thick and fluffy and beautiful. His silver eyes were bright and full of mischief and love. "Mama, up!" he said. Not in words, but I understood him anyway, the way mothers always understand their children. The bond between us was strong, unbreakable, built from those days when I saved his life and refused to let anyone take him from me. I walked over and picked him up, even though he was getting heavy, hard to carry. He licked my face and wiggled with happiness, his whole body moving. "You're going to wrinkle my dress," I said. But I did not put him down, could not put him down. Kale came over and put his arms around both of us. His family, our family. Something I never thought I would have, never dared to dream about. "Ready?" he asked, his voice soft. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Ready. We walked through the pack house together. It was huge, made of stone and wood, with high ceilings and big windows that let in light. My old cottage would fit inside the main room 10 times, maybe more. At first, I felt lost in all the space, drowning in it, but Kale filled it with warmth, with laughter, with love, with pack gatherings and healings and teaching. Wolves bowed as we passed, not just to Kale, but to me too. It still felt strange, wrong. Part of me wanted to tell them to stop, that I was just the Omega, just broken. But I was not the Omega anymore. I was their future Luna. I was chosen. We reached the great hall, and I could hear the crowd inside, hundreds of voices talking and laughing and celebrating. My hand started to shake, trembling. Kyle squeezed my hand. "I'm right here, always, forever." The doors opened with a loud sound. Music started playing. Old traditional songs passed down through generations, ancient and beautiful. Every wolf in the hall turned to look at us, hundreds of eyes. I saw so many faces. Some I knew well now. Most I did not. Alphas from other packs, wearing their formal clothes and judging eyes. Council members from across the territory. The new ones who believed in change. Healers who came to learn from me, to study the old ways. Young wolves I had taught. Children whose lives I had touched. Old wolves I had saved. Elders who remembered the old magic. And in the front row, sitting quiet and still and proud, was Elder Thomas and his daughter, the girl I saved from the wasting sickness, healthy and glowing now. She smiled at me, and I smiled back, feeling warmth spread through my chest. We walked down the center aisle together, Kale on my right, Thorn in my arms. Every step felt huge, important, like I was walking from my old life into my new one, crossing a bridge that could never be uncrossed. The high priestess waited at the front, wearing robes the color of moonlight, silver and white. She was ancient, older than anyone could remember, older than time itself, with white hair that glowed and eyes that had seen everything, that knew everything. She would perform the ceremony, would bless my new role. Kyle and I stopped in front of her. He let go of my hand and stepped to the side. This part I had to do alone. This part was just me. The high priestess looked at me with those old, knowing eyes that saw through everything. You come before the pack as a wolf who cannot shift, an Omega who was beaten and cast aside like trash, a woman who was told she was broken and worthless and wrong every day of her life. Why should we accept you as Luna? My heart pounded, racing. This was the ritual question. Every Luna had to answer it, but my answer would be different from any that came before, different from tradition. I thought about lying, about saying the right things, the expected things, the safe things. But Kale had taught me to be honest, to be myself, to be authentic. You should not, I said clearly. My voice did not shake. If you judge me by old rules, I fail every test. I cannot shift into my wolf. I have no powerful family backing me. I possess magic that was forbidden for generations. By every measure of what a Luna should be according to tradition, I am wrong. I am broken. The crowd murmured, whispers spreading like fire. The high priestess raised one eyebrow, waiting for more. But I am also the woman who saved the Alpha's heir when 5 trained healers gave up, when everyone said he would die. I am the woman who stood against the council to protect an innocent pup who chose love over law. I am the woman who brought back the old healing ways that this pack forgot, ways that have saved dozens of lives. I am the woman who loves your Alpha, not because of a spell or political arrangement, but because he sees me as I truly am, and I see him the same way. I looked out at all those faces, at all those watching eyes. I will never be a traditional Luna. I will make mistakes. I will do things differently. I will break rules that need breaking. But I will fight for this pack with everything I have. I will heal your sick with every gift I possess. Protect your weak with my life. Teach your young everything I know. And I will stand beside your Alpha as his equal, his partner, his mate, his other half. I lifted my chin higher, meeting every gaze. So you should accept me, not because I fit your idea of what a Luna should be, but because I will fight to be what this pack needs, even when it is hard, even when I am scared, even when the whole world tells me I am not enough. I will be enough because I choose to be. The high priestess smiled. It was a real smile, warm and proud and ancient. Well said, child. Well said indeed. She turned to the crowd, her voice carrying. Does the pack accept this woman as Luna? For a long, terrible moment, there was silence. Complete silence. My heart stopped beating. Then Elder Thomas stood up, his voice strong. I accept her. She saved my daughter's life when no one else could. A young wolf stood, barely more than a teenager. I accept her. She taught me the healing songs, gave me purpose. One by one, wolves started standing, saying they accepted me, saying why. A mother whose child I helped deliver safely, a warrior whose wounds I healed when infection set in, an elder whose pain I eased in her final days. One by one by one, building and building. Soon the whole hall was standing. Hundreds of voices saying, yes, they accepted me. Even the visiting Alphas stood, nodding their approval, showing respect. The high priestess raised her hands, and the hall went quiet instantly. Then, by the power given to me by the ancient laws, by the blessing of the moon goddess, by the will of the pack gathered here, I name you Luna of Silvercrest. May you lead with wisdom and strength. She lifted my crown from my head, held it high so everyone could see it glittering, then placed it back on my head with careful, gentle hands. It felt heavier now, more real, more permanent. Rise, Luna, and take your place beside your alpha. Kael was there in an instant, taking my hand, pulling me to his side. Thorn yipped and wiggled, happy and excited and proud. The hall exploded with howls of celebration. The sound was huge, wild, joyful, filling everything. I was Luna. Actually, officially, truly Luna. The ceremony continued with food and music and dancing. Wolves came up to congratulate me, to bow, to welcome me into my new role. Some looked uncertain still. Some looked happy, but they all showed respect, and that was enough. That was everything. Near the end of the night, I slipped outside for a moment of quiet, needing to breathe. The moon was full and bright, hanging low in the sky like a silver coin. I tilted my head back and looked at it. Really looked. "Hello, old friend," I whispered to the moon. "Look at me now. Look how far I've come." I felt the moon's pull, the same pull I had felt my whole life. The call to shift, to become my wolf, to transform. But unlike before, it did not hurt anymore. It did not make me feel broken or less than. I had learned that I did not need to shift to be whole. I was powerful exactly as I was, complete in my own way. Footsteps crunched on gravel behind me. Kael appeared, carrying a sleeping Thorn, our son peaceful in his arms. "Needed a break?" he asked gently. "Just wanted to see the moon," I said, looking at my family. "To remember where I came from, to honor the journey." I looked at him, at our son, at the pack house behind us, filled with wolves celebrating. I keep thinking I am going to wake up and this will all be a dream. That I will be back in my cottage, alone, with bruises on my ribs and fear in my heart. Kael set Thorn down gently on a bench, then pulled me into his arms. "This is real. You are Luna. You are my mate. You are Thorn's mother. You are exactly where you belong, where you were always meant to be." "How did this happen?" I asked, my face pressed against his chest, breathing him in. "How did I go from nothing to everything?" "You were always everything," he said into my hair, his voice sure. "The pack just needed to open their eyes and see it. The way I saw it that night at the feast, when you looked at me across the hall and I felt something shift inside me, felt the real bond forming. The way Thorn saw it when you saved his life. The way everyone sees it now who truly looks." I pulled back and looked up at him. This powerful, fierce alpha who chose me, who loved me, who changed everything by choosing truth over lies. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For seeing me when I was invisible. For protecting me when I was helpless. For loving me when I thought I was unlovable. For giving me a family when I thought I would always be alone." He cupped my face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away tears I did not realize were falling. "Thank you for saving my son. For being brave enough to stand up for yourself. For teaching me that real strength is not about power or control or dominance. It is about choosing love over fear every single day." He kissed me then, soft and sweet under the full moon, under the stars. When we pulled apart, Thorn was awake and watching us, with sleepy eyes full of love. "Family," he said in his little voice. "Not a question, a statement, a truth, a fact." "Yes," I said, picking him up and holding him between Kael and me, completing us. "Family." We stood there together, the three of us, bathed in moonlight and love. The outcast Omega was gone, dead and buried. The broken girl was healed. In her place stood a Luna, a mate, a mother, someone whole, someone powerful, someone loved, someone who belonged. And as the wolves inside the pack house howled their celebration to the moon, I howled too. Not with the voice of a shifted wolf, but with my human voice, strong and clear and joyful and free. The moon heard me. She always had. She was just waiting for me to believe I deserved to be heard.